I guess we would ask him the kind of the conservation of time. If somebody's already made your point, please, let's not have repeats of everything being hashed over again and again and again. So I'm sure everybody's got things they want to say, but we also need to get to a meeting and get this dealt with one way or the other. So from there, I guess I'm gonna kind of hand it over to Adam to kind of decide who comes up at
Yeah, we'll
what
take
time.
turns, and if
I
anybody.
will absolutely go first.
Sure, go for it.
And please,
Adam,
If you
could you
could,
summarize the plan before we start? So they-
We would have to get to the agenda item.
we'd have to get to the agenda
Oh,
first.
okay, I see what you're saying.
If you could please go forward to the podium and give your name and
Get out of your way.
Sorry.
again, if we can
You're good.
limit the time to just in a,
I will. My name's Tanya Ybarra.
Okay.
I believe some of you know me. I have asked questions and sent several emails. And I just want to make it perfectly clear, I stand here because I am against your mask mandate and I am for parent choice. I do have a few questions that I would like to be answered. My first question is, can you tell me, and this is for the board specifically, can you tell me how many people are on your medical panel and what their names are?
I can now just because I found out and asked, really. I finally got my information late this afternoon.
Does it,
Before that, I
Yes.
couldn't find it anywhere.
can you tell me the names?
we have that available to us right here.
Can you say them?
I don't know them off the top of my head, no, but I receive emails, I receive correspondence from the district at all times.
Okay.
So, yes, we have those available to us.
Could you please provide the approved minutes of the meeting that you had with the medical panel in order to deem the mask mandate necessary?
The approved minutes with the medical panel, I don't know that we had a meeting.
Did
with
you
the
have a meeting with the
medical
medical panel?
We haven't met with them.
We haven't met.
I don't think they've met with each other.
panel. They're just
So it was
They're just
not,
an advisory group. They make a recommendation to us. We
so it
make
wasn't
the
an
call.
official recommendation put on minutes?
We make
It's-
the call, the board makes the call.
So they merely gave you their opinion?
Advice.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
One at a time.
Holly, this question is directly for you. Can you please provide me with proof that you have the legal authority to quarantine a student?
We have talked to the health department, don't necessarily have proof per se, but we've talked to the health department and they have given us, we can quarantine them from school and not allow them to come into our school building when they have been exposed to COVID.
Is that in writing from the health department?
That is for the health department. They have not written that out, but that is verbally from them multiple times that we have talked to them. We cannot
But there's
quarantine
nowhere
them
in
outside
writing.
of school. I do not have that at the moment. They can give that to us in writing, yes.
Thank you. Out of the 200 close contacts that led to a school closure and eventually the mask mandate, can you tell me how many of those students eventually showed symptoms and tested positive for COVID-19? No? So you have no support to back up the school closure or the mask mandate
We were just told the health department said shut down.
because the health department said so.
Yeah, which
They
I,
said something,
which
they
we-
said there was outbreaks in 3 of the 6 schools.
we had trouble with in the past.
I would also like to point out the fact that you have no spokesperson here from the health department or your medical panel. Next thing, do you know the distance between the Wellington High School and the South Haven High School? It's 17 miles. Wellington High School to the Argonia High School is 22 miles. Wellington High School to Eisenhower Elementary is 2 miles. You deemed that it is unreasonable to mask students at Eisenhower based on positive cases from the high school, yet you continue to use numbers from South Haven, Argonia, and the rest of the community from our county to build a Wellington-only school mandate. Can you please explain to me why there is no Wellington-only data available to justify your mandate?
No, we can't explain that, because we've tried to get that before.
Yeah, I've asked that question before too, why we had to use the county.
We are going into our 3rd year of school that is affected by COVID. We have a school board, we have a superintendent, we have a nurse with a nurse assistant, along with our public health officer, and a medical panel that was built specifically for COVID. And no one can give us Wellington-only data to support your mandate.
I think we can tell you how many cases are in each school, but none of the information we've been given about masks and shutting down were used just that. It was
So,
countywide, which I don't agree with.
which seems irrelevant
Yeah.
because we're not countywide, we are one district, there are 4 other districts in this county, which none of them have mask mandates.
I brought that up the last time.
So to recap, there was no official recommendation with minutes from a meeting with the medical panel. We do not have it in writing that there's a legal right from our nurse to quarantine students. We don't have any proof to back up the mandate from the 200 cases. We don't have any reason why we don't have any Wellington only data. So the simple solution that I propose to you is to end your mask mandate. Strongly suggest masks. Parents, if they still want their children in masks, they can send them to school in masks, no problem, no one's stopping them. But your mandate is stopping me from my parental rights and from being able to let my child breathe. What you're doing is against my family and my family's rights. So what I propose to you is provide me a waiver. Provide me a waiver that fully releases you of any liability of my unmasked child falling ill, and I will sign it today. I want my children to be able to breathe at school. I want my children to go to school without being in fear that they're going to have to go home for 10 days and miss out on everything that involves in school, sports, getting behind on homework, these social activities. I gave you proof that there is no weight behind your mandate. It is time for you to give me back my parental rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone wanna go next?
That's hard to follow. Who wants to
Yeah.
I'll just stand up and say I'm Leah Hartman and I'm for parents' rights and you need to get rid of the mask mandate. Obviously, I'm for freedom and that's what I fight for. So it needs to go.
Thank you.
I'll go next. I printed it out, but my printer was out of ink, so I have to read from my small phone.
You're fine.
Okay. The CDC recommends a multi-layer model to help decrease COVID-19's transmission in schools. I made that clear at the last meeting. This includes 1, the CDC recommends physical distancing as a prevention strategy in schools. So my question for you guys, has the school board passed a mandate requiring schools to socially distance? Yes or no?
Could you say that again?
Has the school board passed a mandate to require students to socially distance?
That's been in our opening plan.
It's in the
from
plan,
beginning.
You encouraged at least 3 feet. Socially distance is defined by at least 6 feet.
I
And
think
is
we
it a
were 6
mandate?
feet last year.
There's a
Weren't we
difference
6
between a
feet last year?
recommendation and a mandate. Is it a mandate?
I don't know, I can't,
No,
it's,
it is not.
it's, we voted it on the district operation and safety plan,
It's on
that's
the
all I can
safety
tell you.
plan.
Because one
It's
reason is we
encouraged, but
don't
it's not a
have,
mandate.
in some schools, we don't have 6 feet.
Yeah.
But I think this year it is 3 feet,
You recommend 3.
Recommend.
yeah,
Recommend three.
last year it was 6, but we don't have 6.
CDC states that close contact team sports and indoor sports such as wrestling appear to represent particularly high risk activities because participants cannot maintain social distance from others and ventilation's options may be limited. Has the school board passed a mandate banning high risk extracurricular activities when the participant isn't able to wear a mask while participating?
No.
CDC recommends improvements to building ventilation, which I talked about last time, to reduce the spread of disease and lower the risk of exposure. Has the school board passed a mandate requiring schools to improve their ventilation?
Mr. Hatfield said we were working on that.
And just for the record, I did check the humidity at multiple thermostats in the high school, middle school, and we're at 43 to 47% on every one I checked, so.
Perfect, thank you for doing that. Yeah. Do we have mandates in place to improve ventilation?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
No.
CDC recommends respiratory etiquette training on how to safely sneeze and cover a cough. Has the school board passed a mandate on respiratory etiquette training to be completed by each student or school employee?
Not mandated.
Per the CDC, hand washing is one of the best ways to protect yourself from COVID, and they recommend washing at least once per hour. Has the school board passed a mandate on requiring students and teachers to complete regularly scheduled hand washing throughout the day?
Not mandated.
Not mandated.
CDC has recommended avoiding large gatherings such as a prevention strategy for COVID. Has the school board passed a mandate on preventing large gatherings at schools such as pep assemblies?
No.
So my question to the board, when presented with various other CDC recommendations we could be taking to reduce the risk of transmission, why are we choosing one recommendation to mandate when there are several other less restrictive measurements that can be taken. I would like you to think long and hard and be completely sure that there are not less restrictive alternatives before you continue to support a policy that's infringing on parental rights and liberty of our citizens. That's it.
Okay. I appreciate the CDC's recommendations. I want to point out the obvious. That's the political leaders. This is when the camera's on, this is when the camera's off. When you go to Walmart, nobody cares. The community doesn't care. That's why we're here today, to bring it to your attention. And in the end, it's not a choice of consequences or no consequences, it's a decision between medical treatments. This poor kid has a rash all over his face. I wonder what from. I bet a mask. Oh, more maskne. So common it has a colloquial name. Cold sores. Thrush. It builds up in your mouth. You can't exhale carbon dioxide as effectively when you got a dirty air filter. There's plenty of times that we work together at work and you don't wear a mask then, but you're making my kid do it now. Rose, come here, sweetie. This is why I care. Come on, get up here, sweetie. I know, you're in front of everybody. This is my priority as a father. It's not anyone else in the community, it's her. Thank you. Wave to everybody. Miss Hadorn has a son in my class. If she wants to practice this on her grandchildren, super. Leave my kids out of it. I had a whole pile of data here, but it's gonna have to wait till payday to print y'all off a copy of it, but I'll get it to you, don't worry. It talks about deaths. They rise and they fall. Imagine that. With flu season, with the seasonal cold season, that's when COVID deaths rose and fall. Except Florida, which would be the opposite because they would be inside during the hot season when it's air conditioned because it's miserable there. There's plenty of evidence that predates the politicalization of this issue. We can even go to the WHO, to the World Health Organization. When they studied this in August 21st of 2020, they estimated only 1 to 7% of COVID cases were among children with relatively few deaths. We can skip ahead here. The transmission among children and staff within educational settings is limited. Evidence on the benefits and harms of children wearing masks to mitigate transmission of COVID-19 and other coronavirus is limited. We can also skip ahead. They talk about compliance amongst the older children is much more effective than among young children, which is obvious. Evidence of some protective effectiveness from influenza for both source control and protection of children, although overall compliance with consistent mask wearing, especially among children under 15, was poor. Imagine that. I've been in the bucket truck and looking at the playground when you're still making them wear them outside. They drop them on the ground. They mix them up. They sneeze on them. They handle them. A grown man like Mr. Hatfield here, I lost count at a dozen how many times he's touched his face mask in the last meeting. If anyone wants to look at the video, they can verify the number. I'm sure it's much higher than that. Cross-contamination, cross-contamination, cross-contamination. We all touch them. I mowed the pond in my pasture this weekend. It couldn't keep ragweed pollen out. You're lucky that I couldn't print off the pictures because there's snot running down my face, and I blew out a big old nasty ragweed booger. There's plenty more to say, but I'll let somebody else talk. Sorry to put you on the spot.
You're good.
Field mouse, it'll be more or less this time. Oh, there's one more. Oh, now we're looking.
I have anxiety, so please help me get through this. My name is Julie Mert. I have a granddaughter in 6th grade. This summer, when there were wildfires out west, the health departments told the citizens not to use cloth masks because they were no good for keeping the smoke out of their lungs. Smoke particles are much larger than virus particles. So if masks won't keep out smoke particles, they sure aren't going to keep out virus particles. If this was a true pandemic, we would all be wearing N95s. Not just here and there either, everywhere. There were only 3 people wearing a mask out of hundreds at the football game, the last 2 times we had home games. The kids went to the Regent Friday night, no mask. They meet at restaurants, track meets, and on and on. These are all the same kids. Is the virus only effective between 8 and 4? Or does it take a day off in the evening? These children are at a critical stage in their social development. When you mask them up, they are missing out on the smiles and the laughter that produce endorphins that keep them psychologically balanced. No wonder teen suicides are up over 300%. We should be worrying about that rather than these masks. It is cruel to deprive them out of the simple happiness of a smile. It is cruel to deprive them out of a friendship that might start and grow and last a lifetime because they missed out on that first smile. It is cruel to deprive them of this experience. You are basically creating a hostile environment. You are causing social distancing, which is a form of psychological warfare. If you don't think so, look it up and study psychological warfare. Humans are social creatures. And when you deprive them of social interactions, the smiles, laughter, expressions, you are depriving them of the joys of life. You are enforcing fear and anxiety. I am a barber by trade. We are taught how to be around all walks of people every day, all day, day in and day out, and not get sick. There are 6 ways that viruses get in your body: eyes, ears, nose, mouth, genitals, and through a cut or an abrasion on your skin. We were taught just not to touch our face, and it worked. We can teach these kids this too. These kids are smart. We can teach them sanitary skills to last a lifetime that will better their life, not just throw a mask on their face. Teach them to live. Have them use their sanitizer at the beginning of class. Maybe wipe down their desk. Heaven knows we all bought enough sanitizer at the beginning of school. There are 3 ways the body gets rid of toxins: sweat, urine, and exhaling. When you restrict exhalation and rebreathe the expelled toxins, you're basically breathing garbage. It's very unhealthy. For example, my child had to be on very strong antibiotics last year because she got an infection on her face because of the mask. She also had to be on 2 prescription topical creams because she had an infection on her face because of the mask. She was 10. She's 11 now. She has scars on her face that are going to stay there for the rest of her life because of the mask. I can see we're headed there again this year. Maybe I should hold all of you responsible for the scars on her face. We need to raise happy, healthy kids. We need to have they have a natural immune system. How about teaching them about the 6 ways that they can keep themselves safe by not touching their face? How about they wash their hands with hand sanitizer at the beginning of every class and maybe wipe down their desk? How about we teach them how to eat right, take the right vitamins to help their immune system? These masks do no good. It's proven. They only do harm. Now, do you have, this is for the board, do you have any scientific evidence proving that a cloth mask helps?
I'm just gonna say that I've seen data both ways. I mean, I've seen data that when you read it, it is really strong that it does work. And so I'm kind of a data person that, you can find data to say what you want it to say, and that's not to say none of them are true, you know what I'm saying? So.
Was it from Fauci?
No.
Cause he
It's
flip
different
flops
things.
pretty often.
No, it's, I can find data to support
Anything, yes,
anything, either
right.
way, so that's just what I'm saying, so you just have to listen and decide, I guess, but.
The next thing, you guys are so strong on this mask mandate, I wanna know, are you receiving any funding from any agency by having a mask mandate?
No.
No. What do you mean, like a reward or something?
Yes,
No, absolutely not.
okay. If the other parents wanna mask their kids, let them. Let my child breathe free, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak to the board this evening?
I have a quick question. Actually, this one's the first part of it. Holly, would you provide the board a vague definition of hypoxia and hypoxemia?
Just like the low
Just
oxygen
a
level.
general. Okay, what are symptoms of hypoxia?
If they have a low oxygen level, they may become blue or dusky colored.
Okay.
It's the
How about in more minor cases?
such as confusion, and just not being able to breathe well.
Right. Isn't there also dizziness, headaches?
Could be, yes.
Those things all come with it. Fatigue.
Yeah.
Behavioral issues.
Behavioral issues within a long-term setting. I'm in and out of the district, guys. I'm one of your subs. I love doing it. A lot of the kids know me by now pretty well too. These kids are exhibiting these symptoms. Just last week I sent two kids to the office specifically for nosebleeds. They have not had that issue before. A lot of them are complaining of headaches, and really, what can we do with them at that point? We just send them to the office and say, oh, good luck, but, and outside, them being able to breathe outside is fantastic. Just like us when we get home, you see them kids step outside and they're like, they don't want anything to do with them either. And the numbers haven't really skyrocketed either way. Half of the kids are trying to wear them here. The numbers are still not rising. I don't see a reason for them anymore. And I get sick every night. I personally wear them like I'm supposed to within the district because that's what you guys are asking. But every night I come home sick. I'm clogged. I can't breathe very well. It takes the whole weekend for me to feel better. And there were teachers that have told me, we don't like even coming back on Monday morning because we've been able to breathe the whole weekend and we're coming back to being muzzled again. So even from the inside guys, nobody wants this, nobody believes in it. So, I'm all for Indian. Thank you.
I was just gonna say, as a grandparent, I've got the same issue with my granddaughter complaining of headaches. And now out of nowhere, just constant stuffiness, all the time. And she said the worst thing is they go outside and they play. And then when they come back in for lunch and they've all been running and hot and everything, she said they immediately make us put the mask on, and you don't understand, Nana, how hard it is to breathe.
That sounds like child abuse within our school district.
Yes.
Adam, we know it's different when it's your grandchild. And I'm just here to say I'm against the mandates.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Can I just add to the sub's comment over there, and to yours really?
My daughter has come up and told me she loves school. She loves going to school, but she has told me at the beginning of the school year, she does not want to go back because of wearing a mask.
Mine says that too.
My name is Mary Zika. I am coming here as a concerned parent and a teacher. And I can't even tell you how hard it is standing up here today. I have so many coworkers who feel just the way I do, but they're terrified to come forward of losing their job. So I'm speaking for myself because I would never speak for anyone else, but I'm telling you, there are teachers who are not okay with this, and they are prepared in the future, if something does not change, to walk away. I love my profession. I love these children very much. And to see them come every day, and they're good kids. And I spend hours a day because I do follow the rules. I'm gonna respect it. I wear my mask. I waste so many minutes a day telling the children, mask up, please put your mask up, please put your mask up. It is exhausting. They're exhausted. What do? In their mouth, on their face. These kids, they throw it on the floor. I've seen kids try to drink through it. Their masks are not sanitary. Any meme you have seen, these students have done. Let's say, best case scenario, the mask did work. The second they leave the building, they are off. They're with friends, they're at people's houses. Our doctors who are advocating, who are blasting over Facebook, you must wear a mask, are at events every weekend, every day. You can look on social media, they're not shy to post it. Your medical board that you have not met with, but I guess are giving you advice, blast Facebook. I have go ahead, I've seen pictures of them on social media. They're not afraid to post it. They go to parties, they go to volleyball games, they were in Winfield last weekend, not wearing a mask. They've been at theaters, movie theaters, watching movies, no mask on. But they stand behind all you guys saying, you need to mask them up, and you're bad if you don't. The hypocrisy has got to stop. There is no consistency. And the kids at school ask me every day, do we finally get to take the mask off? There's always one asking me, nope, put your mask on. I am begging you to make a decision that you and your heart do feel is the best. We all are gonna have our own beliefs. But please, I ask you, do not make a decision out of fear of what someone else might think about you.
Amen.
My name is Ken Douglas. I'm a local parent. I'll be short and quick. I just kind of had some responses to what I've been hearing. I do have 3 students in the school district, and I am against the mandate because I believe me as a parent, I know what's best for me and my family. I would ask, because I've been looking, I've had friends of mine helping me look, do we know how many students have been seriously ill, hospitalized within our school district? Does anybody know? No. Okay, do we know how many teachers have been hospitalized inside our district? No. Okay, you can't find it.
We've just got numbers
You just,
of
yeah.
positive
So,
cases.
do we have the percentage of the teachers that are vaccinated?
I don't
That's
know.
not true.
So this is my point. Me and what I do, if I go through and I made a decision at my work that would affect other people's lives based off what somebody told me. Well, because that's what I keep hearing questions from the parents, and they ask questions you don't know. Okay? Again, if I went through and I deemed a piece of destruction on an aircraft legit, and they said, well, how do you know that? Well, Bob told me. Well, how's Bob know? I don't know. Well, the plane crashed. My bad. Okay? That doesn't work. You're making decisions for an entire school district, all of our kids, all the people that are afraid. That's my point to her point. She's afraid as a teacher to speak up. Other parents, we put it out to the entire Facebook for people to come here. These are the ones who are brave enough to show up. You shouldn't be afraid to get out here and do this. I have my daughter with masks, comes home and tells me she's afraid not to wear a mask because she sees people constantly bullied by other kids. Yeah, constantly bullied. So she's afraid because of the ridicule from the teachers and the other students. So all I say, if you sit here today and you make a decision off what you know what you've researched, the facts you have, not based off what somebody is telling you or a board of doctors that you haven't even met or that you may have spoke to briefly.
They talk to the staff. The staff
talk to the
tells
staff.
us what they say. We
That's
don't,
our
we
point
don't,
entirely.
we don't talk directly to them.
Okay, well, maybe
That's
you
our
should
point.
reach out.
Well,
I'm saying if you're making a pretty big decision that affects a lot of people off of a whim. And to me, that's not acceptable. I am not here to scold you. I'm not here to ridicule. I'm saying I see the things you make. We shut down for 10 days. Some of these schools weren't even affected. But I see my son, who went from almost getting into Excel, we shut down. He comes back, I'm struggling, because now his motivation, all my children's motivation in school is falling. And so I'm constantly pushing my kids back. And we get him going, he gets a good exit exam, and then the next day we're shut down for 10 days. For what? Not one case in his school.
We had
These
3 outbreaks out of the 6 schools.
Yeah, but his school had how many?
I don't know which
0
one.
cases. 0. 59. And we shut it down. So now my kid's like, oh, 10 days off. Thank you. And so now I got to keep him motivated. You're killing the motivation of the kids, and you're putting their psychological, because now they're living just like the teachers. They're in fear of what other students and what other teachers and faculty might say. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to get long-winded, but I'm just saying, if you don't know, don't make a decision that affects so many people. Wait until you do know the facts and then move forward. Okay? Just like the math, you said percentages. I've been looking, I fight this daily. They fluctuate. And again, somebody quoted Fauci. Fauci said at the beginning of all this, no mask. It actually has more harm than good. Then he said, no, let's do them. You look at the percentages, they went from 80% effective to 50% effective. They posted 30% effective. They fluctuate weekly. So if you don't know, that means they don't know. If you're fluctuating, we don't have an idea, we're speculating, we're making an assumption. If it's not benefiting you and it's causing harm, then what's the point? Sorry, that's all my time. Again, thank you.
Anybody else want to speak to the board this evening?
My name's Megan Allender. I've spoke to you guys a few times, written emails. My opinion has not changed. I am against the mask mandate and believe that it's my choice of what I want to do with my child.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I able to ask one more question? Just a quick question. Do you guys know the mask policy in band class?
Band?
In band class, do you know what the mask policy is for the students then?
They don't have to wear one.
They don't have to wear one. They are blowing through an instrument without a mask in a room with other students with no mask. This has been confirmed by the band instructor. That's part of your mask policy. Where does that make sense? Out of all the classes that these students take, wouldn't that be the one that you want to protect the most? Just a thought.
Good. Anyone else this evening?
Well, again, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I would encourage you to contact the district, like you said you tried, and please try to get on the agenda so that we know who's going to be talking. So, thank you all again.
Are parents able to ask for a revote on the mandate?
We're discussing that. That's our next item on the agenda, is discussing the safety and
you.
operation policy.
I will just say on your website, you have where you can get on a list to be
Form,
emailed and
yes, ma'am.
notified of the agenda. And when you submit your information and you click continue, it doesn't work. I
Okay.
tried it on my phone, my computer, my laptop, it doesn't work, so I called. They said, oh, you'll need to speak to this person, and I apologize, I don't have their name. They said she's in charge of it. I left a voicemail, nobody ever called me back.
Okay, we'll look into that. Thank you. Adam, can you
Thank you
make
for
a
sharing that.
can you make a note on that, Adam?
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on to our discussion item, the safety and operation plan.
Yes, when we last visited this, in our last meeting, the board was interested in going from looking at a policy that is across the district to building by building, and the board did vote to go building by building at that time. they asked us to go back to the drawing board with, and come back with percentages versus the numbers that we had there before. And so on your new plan, as you'll see, we have, as far as talking to our medical staff and getting a feeling for how testing is going and how that is affecting our schools. We have secondary at 1%, and we have elementary at 2%, as far as positive cases in schools. And we have, so for the different populations of our different schools, as you know, which is very different as we are looking across and discussing restructuring as a part of that, then it gives you there the numbers that would be associated with each school of positive cases that would need to be available, and then also with the county case rate continuing as it was before at BOE. And those two criterias need to be met, and then for us to be able to release the mask mandate from building by building if both of those criteria were met within that. So that is proposal there for you based off of our last conversation, trying to listen to the board and move forward.
Can you just repeat what you said
My last,
before?
which piece?
Did you say, if somebody's in the blue, everybody goes back to masks? Did you just say
Yeah,
that?
it would have to be both criteria, yes. That's how we have it down, as both criteria being met, the county case rate and then also the number of positive cases in school.
Do we have a number what that would be?
Yes, it is right there listed next to each school.
Oh, okay, I see that.
Yep.
But you don't, so adding all those up, if we have 6, 10, 14, 15, if we have 18 cases in the district, we go back to completely masked.
No, this would be, it would be by building. So we would be doing it by building instead of the entire district as requested by the board in the last meeting.
Yeah, I thought you said that something could cause it to go to total masks. Everybody.
Just only if
You didn't
only
say
if all the criteria was above this, or the county
Okay.
continued to be in a higher case rate.
Explain to me again why we have to go by the county.
That's the data that we get. We do not receive. So last year, I think
So
some
can
of
we get our own? Why?
I
we
think
have
some
to
of
go
the
to county?
confusion on that last year is we had last year the health department, check me if I'm wrong, the health department did a lot more of their own data last year, whereas this year it is all done through KDHE and they do it by county. So last year we were able to actually talk to the health department and they were able to finitely do that for us, but they are not dealing with data at this time. All of that information goes off to the state, and so the state's the one that has the data, and they report it out as county, so that's all we have.
How come the board can't gather their own data?
Based off of the cases in the county?
Cases in the
In the
schools?
city, in the school.
I mean,
So-
I'm looking
I'm
at
not-
Irby's right now, and they're doing
Yeah.
it by school
Yeah,
and not by county. So why
But, well, we
won't-
would be doing it by school. We're
they're
talking about
not using,
cases.
they're not using their county numbers.
They're
Yeah.
not using
They're
it
not
all.
using county numbers at
So-
all.
They're not
No,
using
they're
their
not
county
using their
numbers at
county
all, I
numbers
just
at
pulled
all.
it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm wondering with
Sure.
Pat, why are we using the county numbers?
Sure, and that is an option for the board. I can tell you the history of those conversations, not saying right or wrong. The argument back and forth within discussions is that if the county is a poor COVID environment, then obviously that affects our schools. And then if our schools, they're also worried about if there were numbers of cases in the school, like at some point there was a discussion on, yes, that'd be fine if the county did not, was okay, but we would not want to release it if there was a lot of cases going on in our schools during that same time. So this criteria covers both things. It doesn't mean the board has to stay there, but that's been the discussions up to this point.
So, back at the special meeting at the little theater, at the high school auditorium, my motion at that time was to go school by school, and we all agreed school by school was great. But my motion, it didn't pass, we get a second, but I made it with the contingency that we have the information in 2 weeks. And here we are, it's 4 weeks later, and right now, if we would have done this, like was asked, the only school wearing a mask right now would be Kennedy.
We revisited this 2 weeks ago in the board meeting.
Yeah, but you know, we did say percentages at that meeting, and then,
Yeah,
but we almost sat here last time and figured the percentages ourselves, and it still took 2 weeks to get this back. I'm just saying, these kids have been in masks when we wanted it school by school. Right now, only Kennedy would be in masks.
On our county.
No,
counties and-
The
because
counties-
the county's
the
still not
county-
blue, so
It's
everybody's
still-
gonna be in.
Okay, well, that's
The
ridiculous.
county information's irrelevant.
It is irrelevant.
It is.
So this is board discussion.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, I've said that wrong, I think the county's irrelevant.
So the point that was brought up about us tracking our own data, we can track, and Holly does a great job of tracking the data within the district. We have no way of tracking our data across our city with the adults. We have no way of tracking that. So we have to rely on the county agency to do that. And apparently it's not the county agency, from what I'm understanding, it's the state agency, where who knows what we're gonna get out of that, just to be honest.
Why can't you just use schools? Because just like, and people have asked me, you know, how I feel about masks, and if it was like a year ago, or even 18 months ago, everybody was wearing masks, whether you wanted to or not. If you went to Dillon's, Walmart, I mean, anywhere, you were wearing a mask. And so that at least made sense for the let's wear a mask. Now, you wear it at school, like somebody's mentioned too, and you all leave, and you go together here, I don't see how being at school is the culprit. I mean, if
We
you-
can't say that it's not, but everybody looks at us because we're responsible for them in that time period.
Well, no, I don't see that's my job, I mean.
You're not the parent. Parents are responsible.
I'm sorry, this is a board discussion, the time for public comments is over.
But we didn't know what you guys were gonna talk about. Like, I'm wondering how, where's
We
the
can't talk
logic?
about it because the public keeps interrupting.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
yes,
trying
I-
to talk
No,
about it
no,
right
it's-
now.
it's
But
time
I
for
didn't
just a
know the
meeting, but,
conversation.
well, it's time for just the
You got
board to
schools
talk,
5
but
blocks
It,
apart.
it's time for the board to talk to it. So I appreciate you coming tonight. Please get on the
Okay.
agenda next time and let us know what you need to talk about, and maybe we can answer it.
Yeah, if I can get
Okay, we'll get that fixed.
just
Thanks.
an explanation.
How many cases of influenza are there in the school?
Don't, God, you can't talk now, people.
I have a question for Holly. Okay, so the numbers that you send us for the COVID absent numbers, those are just COVID? Or is that like, so when you, like the first week of school, it said there were 90 students out. Is that for every call-in, or is that only COVID-related call-ins?
So those are COVID related, those are any of the COVID related symptoms.
Okay, so do you believe the masks are working in our district?
I think as far as like our exposures for our positive cases, and then the ones that have come up positive, like before the shutdown, you know, we had so many that we could trace. That has slowed down. We
Okay,
still
s-
have positive cases, but as far as our close contacts in the schools that you could really trace, that has been noticeably slowed down.
Okay, so you're saying the numbers that we're seeing are all COVID-related absences. So as week 1, it was 90 students out. 64 were in quarantine, 26 tested. Students, there was
I
11 students, and there was 7 staff the first week. But if we compare that to week 5, there was 212 students out, 62 in quarantine, 49 tested, and there was 12 in the schools and 1 staff member. So if we have 212 out as of week 5 and only 90 out as of week 1 with no mask, how are the masks working in our district?
I think what I can track as what I think that it's working, the part that I can tell that I think is working, when, like before our shutdown, the people that were exposed in the school, you know, when, like our testing, that you can tell we're exposed and they're doing close contacts and we're testing and that we're coming up positive as a close contact. There were several, and hence the reason, you know, the outbreak for that term. Now, looking at the ones that we're testing as close contacts, we're not having as many as them coming up positive, which is what we want. That's not to say we don't have people with these symptoms that we're sending home sick, because obviously, you know, they can have a headache or they can have a sore throat, any of those symptoms, and they're still on that list because they've called in with any of those symptoms. So as far as just people out sick, no, those numbers vary, and, you know, some of that, they just vary the longer you're in school. Some kids feel sick and they just have that symptom. So that will change and that will vary. But if we go and look at the data as far as our testing and our close contacts and who's coming up positive, that has decreased.
And we are not required to test in our schools, is that correct?
We're not.
That is a federally, we are funded for that, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We have chosen to do that. That is not something that all districts are doing.
Cause
Many
I looked
districts are.
today and it's less than 50% of the schools in Kansas are actually testing. Not all schools are opting to test.
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that, that's a means of keeping them in school versus sending them home to quarantine.
But if, okay.
No, go ahead, sorry.
Well, it's a snarky comment. If you don't test, you're not positive.
No, I agree. No, I agree. Yeah.
It's snarky.
And there's people that do that, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
because they're
But
just.
are we testing just because, we're not testing just because they want to,
No,
we're
currently
testing
the only
close
people that we
contacts.
test are close contacts.
Right.
They have the option of quarantining at home or being tested and coming to school. But they also have to be symptom free. If they choose to come to school as a close contact, they have to be symptom free. So if they have symptoms, then they're supposed to stay at
And
home.
by close contact, you mean if I'm sitting in an area with some students and I test positive, the people around me,
Closer than 6 feet for more than 10 minutes.
Masked or unmasked, or does that matter?
It doesn't matter as far as being in close contact.
And so this is for whoever can answer it. Okay, KSHA does not require, they have no regulations on, so if a student is a close contact at school and they're being tested every day to stay in, if they're negative and they're staying in school, KSHA does not have any regulations on them to go play football, cross country, volleyball after school. It's a school activity. It's a local health department ordinance.
as long as.
How does that make sense? So this child was in school all day with a mask, and then they ran and coughed all over my kid at the cross country meet with no mask on. How is that safe? If it's a school event, why are we allowing our students to go play sports if they had to wear a mask all day because they were considered dangerous to other
Well,
students?
if they were being tested, is that what you're meaning?
Yeah, because if you're a positive,
Right.
CASA requires you have to have a documentation to be able to come back and play.
Right.
But if you're just a close contact, this student had to wear a mask all day long because
Well, everybody's wearing a mask all day long right now.
in Wellington.
Right,
What
right,
I'm
right.
saying is, but when they walk out
I
of the
got
school, get on the school bus and go to Oxford and run against a cross country team, they're coughing all over, and because, like Holly says, the next day this person could be positive, and then they have to go back 48 hours. And so you just contaminated 3 cross country teams. If they were coughing, running and spitting and.
That is true. However, like I said, they're not supposed to be in school to have any symptoms. Not that you can't miss somebody. I mean, I totally get what you're saying, but part of our staying to test is that they have to be symptom free. And that's not to say that they can't come up positive, because absolutely they can. I'm just saying they should be symptom free and be able to do that.
So if I have severe allergies every time this year, and like I said last time.
And not always, if you
I know,
have
but I
like
said last
allergies,
time, I had 4 grandkids, 1 in college and 4 of them here. They felt horrible. I think Jack stayed in bed for 2 days. Allie, they went to school because they didn't want to miss sports, but they felt so bad. And I saw Jack when he came home from football practice, he could barely get out of his car. They tested negative and they've been vaccinated, so they didn't have it. But they had every single symptoms you can get. So I don't get it. And if they would have called in and said, what do they have? Oh, they have runny nose, they had a fever last night, we're marking them down as COVID.
So maybe a way to approach this is the changes that the staff made, the yellow highlighted areas, where's everybody at on that? Are we acceptable to that? Or do we want more work done on that, or?
I think that's fine, that's what we talked about.
Well, I wanna use the numbers just for the school, not for the county.
It's
Sure.
acceptable to me right now because it's
The
right
numbers
now,
per
but
school,
I think
that
it
part
should
of
be
it.
county.
I think that they did that good.
Okay, so
But I'm saying just like the Derby's doing, they're just using the.
the lower portion of that that box there, you're okay with that as far as the numbers of the
Right, I don't want
individual
the county
schools?
in there.
You're just, okay.
There's, cause we don't control, we're not over the county, so why, I don't understand why we use the county numbers.
So because we're in blue,
We're not in.
No, we're not in blue, we're in red.
well, because, oh, this says blue here, oh, if
That's
it's
just saying-
in
You have to
blue,
get the
okay, well, I just was reading blue right here, sorry. So the county's in red, so everybody still has to wear a mask.
The county is in red, and we are a long way from blue right now.
So why have these numbers in?
What?
If we're trying to do school by school,
Well, it's two things. It's school by school
but we didn't,
and county.
well, I think the idea of going school by school was to get away from being.
Well, I think the idea behind that, just my opinion, is just say that the county's good, it is in blue.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, we have 10 kids at a school. It's a way to get ahead. The county might trail those numbers. So if the county's blue and we have 10 kids at Washington test positive,
They're in masks and nobody else is.
right.
Right.
But the county's in, that's why I'm saying, I think that's why the county is there, because the school could actually lead the county.
So you saying it
So
should be
what?
an or instead of a vote?
Well, I don't know what I'm just saying, I think that's how my take on it is.
So why bother, if we're gonna go by the county color, why are we even messing with these?
No, I agree,
Well-
I think that's the idea, I'm not saying I agree with it, I'm just saying I think that was the
Yeah,
thought. And maybe we should let Adam actually finish discussing this
Well-
before, and then we can talk, because we kind of interrupted him like in his
Yeah,
second sentence.
I'm guilty of that, I'm sorry.
Adam, you wanna go through this and then we'll keep
Sure,
hashing it
sure.
out?
So that is the masking piece that we put together. The second piece that the board discussed that we put in is to begin doing some of our testing in the morning, or having that option for our families to try to keep families and staff, to try to keep our daytime as not messed with as possible. So we are going to start providing symptom-free testing to available USD 353 staff and students in the middle school auxiliary gym. Those students that are under quarantine guidelines are either testing, and that's from 6 to 7:30 each morning that school is open. And then for our staff, we had a concern come up within the superintendent's council, which was a really good discussion, and we have decided to offer voluntary, completely voluntary, but for those concerned staff, they'll be limited to 2 tests per week, but they will be allowed to test on a voluntary basis during that morning time, or also with our medical staff by appointment during the school day. So those are the 2 additions to try to continue to spread out testing a little bit and give opportunities for people to not interrupt the school day as much.
Any thoughts on
Which was
that?
a board, something the board discussed last.
I think that's good, because that was a concern that we were not doing it in a timely manner. Now we'll get it done before they get in the building.
But
We'll get some.
I still like the drive-through versus going to the middle school, cause then the people are getting out, going to the middle school to get tested instead of being away. So if you do the drive-through at each school, they stay in their cars and they don't ever try to infect anybody.
Weren't you planning on using the auxiliary gym
Yes.
as a kind of an isolation
But
period?
still, they're getting out of their car, walking in, and they're around other people.
It's a couple things, Chris, and I completely understand what you're saying. Yeah, the middle school is, obviously we have the exterior building there, is why part of that was thought about, and also as we approach weather this winter, having families a chance to go in and get tested in a closed environment. We're a little bit worried once we get to winter weather that would become an issue, if we were just driving through all the time. So that's kind of where those discussions came from.
But we didn't have a problem with them staying outside, all the staff staying outside taking temperatures.
Yeah, that's where I'm
They were
at.
taking them coming in here, some of them in airlocks, and then some of them outside.
How long does it take for a result of a test?
This is the absence numbers.
So you,
Okay.
I could see the. How that would be
Some of the
difficult.
concern is, obviously, if they all come at once, because they'll probably come later.
There's taking them, they were taking them coming in here, some of them in airlocks, and then some of them outside.
And if you get them lined up and waiting 15 minutes for those results.
It also allows us to decide staffing for a location instead of spreading our people all over the district and making that happen. Because there will be some people that take advantage of this and some that will continue to test during the day, but we're hoping to get a lot done so that it takes less time.
Oh, so you're still going, so this isn't, is this for the
They
close
need both
contacts?
But it's not an all or nothing thing, right?
It'd be either, you would have either option.
Right.
We're gonna start that way and see if we need to
Try to
change it up
encourage
based on
the
that.
before school
Yep.
piece, but those that can't accommodate, then
Sure.
they'd still be available.
But we know that, you know, we have some parents that will
Sure.
bring them early and some won't, so we need to accommodate either way. So that is the main changes based off of discussion last time, and so that is before the board for continued discussion and whatever action you would take. Yes, sir.
The medical advisory group, they've been weighing in on this all along. So what is their recommendation? Did they like this policy?
No.
Several of them haven't even been contacted for over 2 weeks.
No, because this is even more relaxed than the last plan. They didn't like the last plan, so there was no point
So
in
you still
bothering them.
contact them, but they all
There
don't
wouldn't
feel
be
that
any-
same way. Every single person on there doesn't feel the same.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
Right, but see, we don't hear that, and we don't hear why they don't feel the same as. But, I mean, I know, yeah, they haven't even been contacted in over 2 weeks.
That is correct.
They
That- I don't know why we
preferred
bother
the
having
district instead of the
Yes,
five.
they do not, they're not gonna give any advice based off this. This is not a plan that they support, so.
But have they always been consistent with using the county numbers as part of the criteria?
Well, last year when we started all this, we had more access, like I said. to the
But we
city.
don't this year?
We don't unless we figure out a math formula to make it happen, like everybody's talking about, which we can absolutely look into. I don't know that we'll be able to, you know, like I said, find stuff across, we can talk to our health department and see what we can put together. The difference is last year, the health department was compiling data themselves, and so they were working with numbers all the time. Now everything goes off to the state, so all the number compiling is happening at the state. But they may have contacts that can help us, we can check into that. But currently, the data we're getting without doing something special would definitely just be the county.
So Adam, on the quarantine, how many times can a student that has close contact be quarantined?
The entire year.
Yeah, and it totally depends on their situation, yes. Yes.
So a healthy kid could lose a whole year of school because he was in close contact with somebody.
Well,
If they refuse to test.
Yeah.
If they refuse to test.
With or without symptoms.
so that's the reason for testing this year.
Well, if they test, is it 7 days? Isn't that what I'm reading?
If they do daily testing, it's for 7 days. Well,
So-
the daily
No.
testing is 7 days, but they don't test every day when we're not in school for 7 days. And usually by the time we get the result, it ends up being less, but
So if you test, it's only 7 days, and if you don't test, it's 10 days.
Correct.
Right.
So you still could possibly lose the whole school year if you're always being in close contact.
if you were to quarantine at home and come back and be exposed the day you get back, yes, you could be pretty close to that. If you chose to quarantine at home every time, yeah. Yeah.
So, if I've been exposed and my parents agree that I can be tested every day, is it 3 days with negatives or?
So.
I was thinking Vivian said she was
If
tested
you-
3 days negative.
Well, it varies, because if you do daily testing, it's a 7-day period. So depending on when we get those results back from that person that tested, it makes a difference. So say I got results back today on somebody that was positive. Well, the last day they were in school was on Thursday, so that would be your exposure day. So then we would count starting Friday and go 7 days. And that would be the end of your testing day. So however many days of testing that is. So it changes.
Yeah.
Because then obviously if it was somebody that was doing daily testing and they tested positive, they would get exposed that day, so then they would test more days.
More days,
So
okay.
it's a 7-day period, but it can vary.
Yeah, that's.
You know, sometimes somebody may only test one day, it just has a lot of
Okay.
variance in there.
We have an idea what the latest numbers are.
Yes, I sent those to you today.
Oh, you did?
Oh, I didn't see them.
They, I got them all.
I get those out.
I didn't
The
get
daily
them,
numbers.
or I didn't look lately.
Well, I think it was when you sent,
Yeah, I was it, did you, was it email or did it
Yeah,
get
it was,
put?
it was the usual Google Doc I always send you.
I don't have one from you.
I don't have
I
one.
think it was in the board brief, wasn't it?
Was it now?
No.
I have it.
Cause I'm looking at the board briefs right
Okay,
now.
well, Holly will read them off to you real quick. Yeah, I sent that Google Doc.
Yay, I finally have something new, I saw something nobody else did.
Are you
Doesn't happen
on-
very often, I usually can't find things.
New positive,
got
or
yours
what
done?
all do you want?
I usually can't find it.
Is it in the BOE packets?
No, this was my usual weekly
Yeah,
COVID numbers that I send you.
must have
So I will resend it.
got
Okay.
stuck in the
Yeah, I
spam
shared the
filter.
Google Doc and hadn't heard from anybody, so.
I've got through week 5.
Yeah, that's what I've got. That's why I was curious what the latest was.
Do you want just the new positives, or do you want, I don't know what else?
Do you compile what she gives you or do you just copy paste?
No, my information I send you goes directly from medical staff.
Okay,
So, as far as students absent, we had 145 students absent. 29 of those are in quarantine. We had 2 staff absent. Positive new tests, we had 4 at the high school, 8 at the middle school, 1 at Eisenhower, 1 at Kennedy, and 3 at Lincoln. We are in the red. It was 267.1 per 100,000 for Sumner County. And then, I don't know if you include this or not, but I just figure out how many tests we do for our daily testing on Friday. And we
I
did,
include exactly what you give.
oh, okay, so we did 108 tests on
That's the
Friday,
one that they sent
or on Thursday, I'm sorry.
9/24.
So actually, nobody would be in quarantine right now.
Oh, we do have,
I don't mean quarantine.
we have 29 in quarantine.
I didn't,
No, nobody would be wearing masks if you
I
just
didn't
use
go
the students and not the county.
Yeah, I don't know what Lincoln's number was, but we have 3 at
Lincoln's, it says
No,
it's,
Like it's
Three.
4 less, so yeah, I think you did, and
I was wrong, I said Kinsey, but
middle school. was
nobody
8.
would be in a mask.
Middle school.
So with the building by building criteria, we'd be pretty close to meeting that criteria.
Minus the
But
county.
but the county, we are miles away from being in the blue.
That's correct.
So they're always gonna be in a mask if you go by that.
And that's where we're not in charge of the county, so I can't control what goes on in the county. I can control what goes on in the school. And if we're gonna be looking at this for a mask mandate at the school, we should be looking at school numbers and not the county numbers. Because, you know, you look on TV and you look at all these football games going on and nobody has a mask, I can't control that. I can only control what goes on in the school. So why would I want the county numbers that I have no control over? Nor no say in what goes on, nor no say what goes on in the state. So I think we need to put our thing with the population that we do control and look at their numbers. Because once they leave the school, they can do whatever they wanna do.
Yeah.
So why would I wanna look at a county number?
Do we know how many positive cases we had when we shut down? To make us shut down and compared to,
I can get that for you, but I don't have it in front of me. I have it, I mean, on my computer, I can definitely get it and email it to you, but I don't have it right now.
okay, thanks.
I know the answer to that.
Well,
It was
if we're gonna
40
go
from
by
the
I
statement.
think it was 41.
Correct.
And
My opinion is if we're gonna go by the county, I just want parent choice and do away with the mandate because I really wanna go school by school because I think when there is an outbreak, I think you do, I think a mask is good. But if we're gonna keep going by the county, it will be a mess all year, probably.
Any other thoughts?
County numbers are trending down,
No math.
but, I don't think we're gonna get to the blue anytime soon.
No.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of the county, using the county on that information.
I'm not in favor of totally throwing it out, though. We gotta have something to go by.
No, I still
You know,
want,
it's a trend.
right. I'd still like using just the school information, the school numbers.
How did you
that to
come,
my child that has
how
a
did you come up with the
staph infection.
percent for, that it takes per school? Like I said, you know, like,
The number of hospitals.
for like Eisenhower, if there's one, no, I'm not, won't put it now.
You talking about,
5 or less at Eisenhower, there's no mask. So I mean, are these percentages of the students that you,
yeah,
okay.
2%.
2% of
Works out to
Eisenhower
five.
should
I've got too
5.
many things open here, I'm sorry. All of them 2%.
Yeah, so basically, using the latest update,
Middle school was
middle
about,
middle
Middle
school,
school would be a mask right now.
right.
But they'd all be close. Everybody be
Yeah,
really
yeah.
close.
Well,
Were you guys able to find it?
I got one from 924, but not one for 927.
No, 924 is
Oh,
the
sorry,
Friday,
yeah.
it's through
Latest.
Friday,
Yeah.
through Friday.
Where's the get info?
so,
Go ahead, sorry.
no, I was just trying to spur a little bit more conversation if there needs to be any. What direction are we kind of looking at? I think I've heard a lot about,
I would like,
Choice.
I would like just to see
Choice.
the school, the students and the percentages and not looking at the county, take the county out. Cause like I said, we have no control over what the county does.
We had the shutdown when we had parent choice, when we started this whole thing. And we had to shut it down. And I don't wanna shut it down again.
nobody does.
That's what we don't want to happen. So,
and I don't think you have to shut down. I think you just go to full, if that's the point, you just go full mask mandate, just shutting down. I don't think you shut down for,
well,
So,
Holly, is that true though, if you have an outbreak?
Do you have to shut down?
Yeah.
No, you do not have to, that would.
Shut down per
Slow
school?
down our number of hospitals.
That
You
was
can
a-
do it
that
per
was a
school,
recommendation.
That-
That's just a
Right.
recommendation, we didn't have to shut down, that was their recommendation to shut down.
but that's not is that totally true? Because the county does have jurisdiction. The
They-
county health department does have jurisdiction
They
to
could
shut us
make
down.
you shut down,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, they
They
could-
did not, they recommended it at the
Right.
time.
But then it'd be on the county to shut down.
I mean, we all know it's half a dozen, it's half a dozen, the other, county commissioners never said that, it's just, it is what it is, and
Well, actually, I believe the health department said mask and the county commissioner said no.
yeah, I just mean,
Yeah.
you can live right in the same area and people, it's just least restrictive environment, that's what I like, just masks for buildings.
Just let our kids live.
So, do we wanna give some direction to staff, or do we wanna make a
You know,
recommendation?
As far as the timeline, as far as morning testing and getting all that going, we would like to,
Yes.
start that next Monday, October 4th. So just need a decision by the board as to, accepting that date.
Do we have any different, when I saw that you want people, if they've been vaccinated, you like the parents to send you that information, and the same if they have been positive last 6
Correct,
months?
so if you're fully vaccinated 2 weeks after your second vaccine, or if you've had a positive test in the last 6 months, you don't have to do the home quarantine or the testing.
Okay.
So if we have to have proof of that, so if we have it on file.
Yeah, I saw
So-
that, I wasn't quite sure what that meant.
That's fine.
Sorry, I gotta push on that just a little bit. So, we're talking booster shots every 6 months on some of this stuff, so are we doing anything like that on?
They don't have to, because that's currently not mandated by
Yeah, nobody has to do that.
anyone, so.
Vaccinated kids don't have to quarantine.
Mm-mm.
They get passed.
There's two.
We're just small children, we can't talk.
It feels like a lot of pressure from a pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
That your kid, that only the kids that didn't take the shot.
Thank you. Okay, so on the two pieces of this that are highlighted, that we asked staff to kind of look at, I guess I'm hearing pretty much consensus that we don't like the county piece. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes?
I would say,
No?
I would say,
That's all we
Looking
got.
for a little direction here.
I'd say some of us are against that.
Yeah.
I'm personally not a favor of using the county piece,
I'm
but
not either.
I think there are some people that
Good.
do.
Do you like the percentages for the elementary and the secondary?
I do, I like the numbers.
So if we take the county base rate out, would that work and put just the students in?
I think so. I was trying to go back and look at the numbers here,
Yeah.
just,
Well, then I would make a motion to take.
Wait, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Why is the elementary 2% and the high school's 1%?
So, I'll just jump in on that. So, Adam and I had a little discussion about that. I actually kind of recommended going 2%. The initial piece that I saw was 1% across the board. I kind of looked at going 2% at elementary because of the way those kids interact. They're more compartmentalized, I guess. At least it was when I was there. It was when my kids went through there. It's a little bit more compartmentalized than it is at the middle school or high school. I mean, those kids are passing hours. They're in the hallway. They're interacting with each other. So I felt that it was a little bit more compartmentalized. So it was a step in, I felt, the right direction to try to get the numbers up to where maybe we can get out of these things. That was kind of my thought.
All we have to do is vote to get.
So is 2% for both not good?
Again,
Considering
It would
how-
raise up the middle school
Well,
and
yeah,
high school.
considering how many people are in the high school and middle school, what's the total number?
how many?
300 and something.
Yeah, there's about 450 at the high school and it'd be around 350 at the middle school. I can get you exact numbers.
Do you want those numbers higher?
yeah, so if
I
you went
think
to,
I like 2% at least.
if you went to 2%, it'd be 8
1%.
middle school and 10 high school.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, you know, based off of that, I think asking the medical staff kind of what their, you know, daily testing rate is with close contacts with all of that and is important in that discussion.
Certain.
The medical staff likes these numbers.
That, yes, they
Okay.
feel comfortable with how the
4 and the
school
5.
looks with that.
Light may be an overstatement.
Yeah, I don't know that they're, yeah,
Okay.
for sure, for sure.
Well, but there are some on the medical panel that. I mean,
Well,
it's a
I'm talking.
majority.
I'm talking our staff that has to deal with the testing on a daily basis is what I'm,
Correct.
Holly and her crew.
Chris, I believe you were in the middle of
300
saying something.
No, yeah, I'm good. I wanna, you good
I just like 2% for both.
for both?
And we have 300 and some kids, 4 cases, it's like, considering they mingle all the time everywhere anyway.
Right.
Which changes the close contact piece. That's why it's less. They're around more students throughout the day because they change classes and go.
Yeah, but I mean, they're also as much
May I ask a question?
with their friends and parents and, I mean,
Hey Pat, I'm just looking, I don't know, I think there was only one time when, actually 2 times when the high school actually would have been out of that 1%.
Right.
So high school's actually been relatively low. I mean, we got, one time,
Except for the one spike.
yeah, the one spike. So I think the 5 students, we'd only been out of that in 2 weeks of this.
So
week 4 is 8.
I forgot my motion.
I think you can come up with it again.
Okay.
I got
you looked at me, Chris, and you said, are you okay? So I just wanted to.
Y'all are just grabbing numbers with no medical, I don't see one doctor in this room. Y'all are just, I'm sitting here listening to y'all grab percentages off of what? Where's the numbers? Who here
I'm
is
sorry,
educated
I'm
to
sorry,
actually
but
know?
the public comment is over.
No, you listen.
You stop with this.
You are grabbing a percentage from nowhere.
Okay,
Mr. Buckman, what percentage
Oh,
does
good
Derby
grief.
use?
That I don't know, I didn't look that up, I'm sorry.
I don't know where they got their numbers.
6%.
Hold
No,
on,
it's different.
do you know?
6%.
6%, I'm sorry. I
That's
just
okay.
looked at their
I just
chart.
knew you had it on your phone, so that's why I
Yeah,
asked
no, I just looked at their chart, I didn't look at their percentages. I was just looking at the chart on what they did with the students, so, sorry.
you. You're okay.
we got, anybody wanna make a motion, or are we
Yeah,
gonna, more discussion, or?
Are we gonna make a motion for the whole thing or just the community part? Or the county part?
The county,
I think we can piece it together, can we get?
Yeah, if you wanna approve the plan, then we will take the county piece out.
Yeah.
And if you would give me a date you'd like it to.
Well, but if we're approving the plan, we need to make sure everybody's on board with the piece as
I'm
far as
not
the
okay,
testing.
I'm not okay with the close contacts going into school until 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon and getting tested. I mean, I think as a district, we can say, these are the times close contacts need to be tested. And that's what it needs to be. If we wanna designate a spot in the community like the gym, I'm fine with that. But I think it needs to be everyone, I don't want them in the school until we know if they're negative or positive, just because that limits the contacts the next day.
Sure.
Cause if you have 4 kids that come in, that didn't come in for the early morning and they're all positive, then that just adds to more close contacts that have to be more testing and more quarantine, is that correct?
It's correct, but we do have somebody stationed at the school, so they usually catch them now that we have more people and we have another one starting later this week. So we get them earlier in the morning, so that does cut down on our time.
I mean, other districts are just completely saying, these are the times you have to be tested to go to school. So I mean, I like the idea of,
So you're saying everybody goes to the middle school?
well,
Or
I
wherever,
don't, yeah,
wherever.
I just like the idea of it being done before, I mean, that's what I said 2 weeks ago, I want them in class. I don't want them sitting in class for 2 hours,
So my other-
possibly positive.
My earlier point of it's not one-stop shop, you want it one-stop shop, you want it to go one spot and everybody's tested there, which is, I understand the
No, I
reasoning.
don't care about that, I don't care if it's at each school, from 7 to 8 o'clock,
Oh,
or
okay.
I don't care where it's at, I just think
You just
that-
don't want them commingling until
Yeah,
they're
like,
tested.
cause she can't tell us by what time of day they're all being tested.
And I think we should raise the percent.
I thought it was 6 to 7:30.
No, she's saying that if they don't come to that they can go to school,
Oh, that,
and that they're
okay.
doing it in the sometime in the morning.
doing it, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, so, I should have done this a long time ago, I apologize. Do we have Carol on the phone?
She was earlier.
Oh my.
Sorry.
Yes, she was earlier.
So,
Jenny got a hold of it.
I guess I would like to recognize Carol and see if she's got anything to add to this conversation.
I don't know if she's there anymore.
She's not on that.
I could hear it for a while, but.
Okay. Sorry, Carol, that was my bad.
Oh,
There she is.
Sorry, Carol,
What are you talking about?
Yeah. So,
Listening, everything.
what'd she say?
We're getting ready to make
She
a
wants us
motion.
to summarize.
Good.
So basically, the two pieces of the safety and operation plan, the one piece, the percentages at each individual building, the county portion, and then the other highlighted piece as far as the testing of close contacts and how that's done, whether that's done before school, during school, at the individual schools. Those are the two pieces that were kind of highlighted as changes. So what's your thoughts on those?
I'm kind of hesitant because on the, not counting the county, my problem with that is that we're only gathering what is within our school system, not within our locality as a whole. So we're still going blind, in my opinion, on that.
Okay. What's your thoughts on the testing of close contacts? So, with that being said, if we're going to adopt a plan as a whole, we need to address both pieces of that before we move forward to adopt a plan,
And the percentages.
which is part of one of those, yes. If that needs to be addressed. And sorry, my computer died, so I got my agenda on my phone there.
You're fine. If you want it.
No, I'm good. That's enough.
I know the high
I got
school
my
hasn't
iPad if you wanna
been there,
follow
so
me.
why not make it 2%? I mean, if they haven't even been at 1% hardly, if you just keep it the same, which is low anyway.
But I thought we're trying to get them out of the mask.
Yes.
Yeah,
The 2%,
that's what I'm saying.
the 2% would be,
We'll let more people,
the 2% would
Not-
be that faster.
We'll get them at, if we add it,
Yes.
oh, I
If
thought,
you added a percent,
cause I thought
Yes,
that
so
would double it,
instead-
it'd be 8 or
no.
less.
No.
Oh,
So are
okay,
you
I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I went backwards with that,
Testing.
okay.
see, it would be
Yes.
10, you'd
So-
be
Oh, I
10 or
see.
less.
Okay,
5 or less
okay,
than
I get with you,
2%.
Pat, I'm sorry,
that's all
I-
right. I'm not a
I was doing-
mathematician either, so.
I'm gonna side with Jason on that one though. I think the thought process of
I think we all need to run for
being
school board.
mingling more,
Can't
that
do
does need to be a lower, that's just my thought. I think it needs to be a lower number. And if we adopt these numbers, the middle school is gonna be the only school at this point that would be affected. Everybody else will be mask free,
With the county piece taken out.
with the county
With the
piece taken
county
out.
piece
Just
taken
this
out.
week,
This week, yes.
just this week.
Yeah.
I think we ought to be on the low side with those.
I think so, and I just, I'll admit I'm not a fan of them at all, but
We need to learn.
So,
Okay, so if we're kinda on the same page there, let's move to the other
Yeah.
piece on the testing. Dina, do you have a little bit of direction maybe on that?
Well, I like the idea, like I said, I don't care if we wanna designate it in one place, but if we're wanting to make it more convenient for the parents, like Adam was saying, maybe they don't wanna come that early in the morning. If we make it more convenient, cause we do have testers for each school, and we do have the ability to test at each school, correct?
Correct.
So we don't really have to bring everything to one place, cause we do have the ability, because we already have the testers at each school, we could just set it up there. We had a spot to.
do we have the
ship-
real estate to do that at all the different schools? I mean, the idea was to keep them isolated. I'm just asking, I don't know.
Well, that's why I was talking about, like the drive-through, just not even let them out of the car, because that's what we did
that's the
with
whole
the
point of the
temperatures.
drive-through.
Right.
You don't let them out of the car,
It
and
gets
and
kinda
it's
tricky
done there
with
at
the
their
15.
school, and they get tested right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to make it as convenient for the
No, I
parents
get
as
it. I'm just
possible.
trying, logistically, are we asking for something that can't? Like, we get them a tent if it's raining?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's,
I mean,
They just
I
stay in
don't-
their car though.
well, the people, the poor people tested them.
Yeah. But you could have a tent or whatever.
Well, that's what,
The elements, I'm not too worried about the elements, I'm more worried about the safety of the kids.
right, I get
So,
that. I'm just trying,
That's-
we can't just vote and make it happen if we
Right,
realistically
right.
can't
Sure,
to do
I
that.
get
So
I understand.
we're just questioning.
Or maybe we just say, testing is from 6 to 7:45 at the middle school, and these are the times you come to get tested. I mean, at least then it's limiting the exposure to all the classes. I mean,
You must get a lot of money for testing.
I'm fine with
I-
that,
you know, I just
just
to answer-
limit it and tell them you gotta be here, you know.
And if
This
they
is
can't
the
make it,
time for
they're
your
quarantined.
class to
You know,
show
even
up.
if
Yes,
we,
I
I
mean-
just wanna clarify this, cause I think there's some misconception here. Even when we did not require masks, we still tested. So testing's gonna happen whether we have no masks, parental choice masks, or this way. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to get that clear.
Yeah.
For close contact.
Yeah. And people's symptoms.
So without symptoms.
So
Without
test
symptoms.
is
maybe not 50%.
Yeah, without symptoms. With symptoms, they're gonna be sent home quarantined.
So is that obtainable? Was that
Having a drive-through
not really, well, just,
and making it happen during the morning,
Yeah.
we can mandate it and see what happens. We were wanting to go the opposite direction and give them the choice and then see if that worked and then go that. But if we wanna mandate and see what happens, we will still have to pull kids that when parents don't show up in the morning, cause that will happen.
I mean, and I'm fine trial and error. is, you know.
That was our thought, but
And
I
I'm fine
understand
with
what you're
that.
saying.
I'm just being honest, I don't like the idea of
No, I get
them
it.
sitting in class.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm fine with trying it this way and
Steps.
I guess my fear is personally, if we try it and it doesn't work, we're gonna be back in here for another special meeting, so we have to have a way to. We have to word this where it can be pulled back to what we have now.
If you mandate it and there's one or two that don't come, I guess I think that's as good as we can do, cause some parents just won't.
Sure,
Can't do it.
we pull those,
Won't do
we
it.
pull those kids.
We didn't test in 1977. Everybody
Okay, so with that all being said,
Shall we
anybody
try?
have the idea of the
wording?
motion?
So, I make a motion that we use the mass building by building proposed, taking out the county part and just going with the students at the school based on elementary at 2%, secondary at 1%, and then, are we doing free testing or mandatory testing? I still was confused on that. We doing mandatory testing? Is that what we're gonna?
It's required.
With, mandatory testing at the Wellington Middle School auxiliary gym from 6 to 7:30.
For symptom-free
For the
contact.
free testing for COVID. But you would, Adam, you'd have to say what class is going at what time, or everybody just comes in at one?
Yeah, we, like I said, we haven't done this yet, so we were hoping to start it in trial and error.
So if we do the mandatory,
Well, wait a second. Are you talking mandatory everybody? Or are you talking just contact trace
right, just contact trace,
and?
And that's if the parents have signed the
right,
Right,
right, sorry, my bad.
and non-symptomatic.
Does that make sense?
So for clarification, because there's been discussion on both sides, are we trial and error on that, or are we mandating everybody in the morning?
I guess we're gonna try trial and error.
I was gonna say, let's do a trial and error before.
And I can
we
report
mandate.
back to you in 2 weeks.
But
on
try to
that.
get everybody in the morning, obviously, as quick as we
Yeah.
can.
We'll push it.
When is
see
the
what-
next board meeting?
Be 2 weeks from.
2 weeks.
2 weeks,
So
so
that'd be,
I guess I'll give you time to test that,
yeah,
and that way we don't have to have a special meeting in between.
At that point, we'll be 1 weekend if we start it next Monday, so.
Yeah,
And
okay.
there's the piece in there about staff, limited to 2 weeks, everybody, or 2 times a
oh,
week.
yeah,
Is
I'm
everybody
sorry.
okay with that?
And that's fine.
Voluntary stuff.
Voluntary for staff from 6 to 7:30 at the Wellington Middle School auxiliary gym.
So if this motion passes, this will take how many schools out of mask? As
So
of
as
tomorrow?
Everything
as
except
another stand right now,
WMS.
right, everybody but middle school.
Everybody-
As
Well, great, that's
tomorrow.
where my kid's at, is middle school.
So-
I'm
As
here
of
to
tomorrow.
get her out of the
They're
mask.
setting at 8 right now.
Okay.
And the number will be 4 or less at middle school. I
Okay.
think they're 8, aren't they, Tom?
Yes.
But that would be effective
Yeah,
tomorrow.
8 at the middle
You want
school.
that piece immediately?
What's
For the mask part?
Yeah,
what's 2%?
yeah, if it passes effective.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess my only concern on that is notification to parents to let them know.
We can close down
I guess.
school at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I know, but I don't wanna go down that path again. So,
The testing piece for sure, we'd like to start
but
October.
I guess if you let the admin know, and if they're in a building that's no longer required, then
Sure.
most of them greet the kids at the door anyway, so.
I can
be
notify, I
addressed
can
then.
notify them tonight.
But the students that are close contacts are still required to wear a mask.
Yes.
Close contact.
You got something on your mind, I can tell.
Oh, I don't like any of it, so.
So, did we get that motion finished?
I believe we've got that.
So it's still on the table.
I will second Chris's motion.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, same.
Actually, we gotta do a
Oh,
voice.
sorry,
We're gonna do a voice roll
Another
call.
voice vote on that.
Okay, Chris
Shelby?
Wickman,
Yes,
Carol Hadorn, Larry Mangan,
Yes.
Jason Newberry,
Yes.
Deanna Garber,
No.
Tom Henning,
Yes.
Pat Zika.
No, I like, no.
No.
Okay, so we had 5 yeses and 2 noes, so. Is that correct, Shelby?
Yes.
Okay, so that's gonna be a step in the right direction. We will keep looking at this. Like we said, we were going to at the beginning. It's obviously a moving target. Hopefully, everybody wants to get back to school as normal. Everybody wants that. We all want to be out of mask. We all want to be back to school.
Well, then
just
vote
regular.
to get out of mask.
But we don't.
Just did.
All of them, everybody.
But we want to keep the kids in school.
Then quit closing schools.
so-
You are not the parent. We are. Stay in your
So
lane.
with that being said, I don't think there's anything else on the agenda.
That's it, this is,
So we are adjourned. Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Carol.
Hi, Carol. Are you in Colorado, Carol?
This is
Wow, what's the weather like?
I hate the phone.
Right.
Right.